Hello, Ron Bashar here. So we did a small review of the small and short review of patch 04. Now we are going to make a non-so small one. Let's get to it. So they did the GG did us the courtesy of summarizing stuff here. 21 new skills, 13 new supports, the druid, the wolf, bear, and wyvern forms. 2 new ascendancies. These are just the ascendancies for druid, right? I mean, don't misunderstand this. There is no new ascendancies coming. So new class, and it has its own ascendancies. That's what they mean there. I think it's a little funny that they mention it like this because it kind of seems like, really new ascendancies. Seasonal mechanic, Fate of the Wall, seasonal pinnacle boss, Atziri, build your own dungeon, seasonal mechanic, 9 new crafting mechanic. I think from the background, what I'm understanding here is this is going to be seasonal, but I could be wrong. So these are changes to core, 11 new unique items. Abyss gets transferred to core based on crafting changes and rebalance uniques and skills. Let's get into it. So in the game, when you play a seasonal character, which is going to start in about 1 week from now, you will find some devices. You will find the devices. You click on the device. I think it's going to spawn some monsters. You kill them. You empower the device, and you get transferred to the customizable dungeon, right? And you could use some rooms to empower the others. Blah blah, right? And the pinnacle boss from that area will be Atziri herself. And I think the regular boss from that area will be the Royal Architect. Atziri's high-ranking official or something like that. Yeah. And, in this video, I'm generally going to assume that everyone is going to play the League. So let's get into it. Added a new playable characters, the Druid, the Oracle and Shaman ascendancies. These are these. Over new 20 skills, primarily primal skills. Primal skills, I believe, is the tag for druid skills mostly. So mostly druid skills have been added over 35 new supports. So I'm not objecting to this kind of, commercial like, language, over 20, over 35. But this is a little bit funny. I think you have to admit, or you have to agree with me here. Also introduce over 8. Over 8? Just say 9 or 10 or whatever it is, over 8. What's that mean? So funny. So if we do not get sidetracked here, lineage supports are a new, in air quotes, kind of support that was added in patch 03. They follow the old support rule in which you can equip only 1 per character. The supports have been reworked, and now you can equip any support other than lineage supports, as many as you like. Added over 250 new passive skills to the tree. This is, of course, mostly the druid starting area and druid related passives, but that's not limited to it, right? Over 10 new unique items, over 10, and you can see here 11. Wow, over 10, eh? The mystery. I wonder how many it is. Anyway, added a new weapon class, talismans. Talismans are the druid weapons, 200 martial weapons that are used for shapeshifting attacks. And the existing talismans, the ones that we would get from chasing the wisps and killing the monsters they possess, they have been renamed into idols. Added new 4 augment items with new modifiers. Continue to blah blah imp. Yeah. Abysses have been added to the game as core mechanic. Yeah. So my guess is 4 months from now, when we are going to patch 0.5, I think Atziri might be added as a pinnacle boss to the base game as well, because that's generally how Path of Exile operates. You have a league, and then when the league ends, the old seasonal mechanic will get transferred to the base game, but at a weaker status, right? I mean, normally last season, for example, Abyss was very dominant. Now it's going to be existing a little bit less, right? Let's take a look at this. Abyss has been added to the core game. You can find Abyss encounters in campaign-specific areas starting in Act 2. Abyss encounters have been added to the end game, as well as Abyss tablets and related modifiers. Also, Abyss Atlas modifiers, Abyss Atlas passives will be present. Yeah, Preserved vertebrae no longer drop. Off the top of my head, if I recall correctly, I think that's the one that desecrates the maps. And I think it's not just going to be preserved vertebrae no longer drop. You will not be able to desecrate maps, right? I mean, last season's insane map crafting does not exist anymore. You will still be able to craft maps, but not on the level at the last season, right? Because you would have tier 16 maps with Abyssals overrun and 100% plus pack size, which was netting huge amounts of XP, Well of Souls, etc. Okay, now guys, so the thing is, last season, if you have been following my videos, you know that I have only played Deadeye, right? Lightning Air of Deadeye, which was my first character ever, first proper character ever, right? Because I think it was my third or fourth character, but they were all kind of stillborn. Anyway, so I like this character, right? And when I saw it was the strongest again, I did play it, right? I'm guilty of going for the cookie cutter build, and it has been axed again, right? So it was the top build in season 1, it was axed in season 2, it was top again in season 3, and it's now axed again. I don't know if she will be able to remain at the top, but it's not at least, gone like season 2, because in season 2 it was just gone, right? Huge nerfs. This time around there are some serious nerfs, but I think it can still be playable. So let's get into it. The point I was arriving at, because before I sidetracked myself, was that I won't be able to comment on changes that are non-Deadeye related, right? Or maybe comment on a very small level, right? Because in first season 1 and season 2 I have tried playing everything, but my knowledge is very foggy and quite outdated, I think, right? So let's get to it. Tailwind has been nerfed to granting 2% skill speed down from 3% skill speed, and 10% evasion rating down from 15% evasion rating per stack. And it stacks 10 times, so this is actually a rather large nerf, right? We lose 10% skill speed and 50% evasion rating when it's fully stacked, right? But now it has something additional. Deflected hits to prevent 1% additional damage per stack. So deflection prevents 40% of the damage. And now when I have fully stacked up Tailwind, it's gonna prevent 50% of damage instead of 40%, which is kind of not really much compared to what we lose here. Based on armed attack has been increased to 1.65 attacks per second, up from 1.4 attacks per second. The constricting command helmet has been axed as well. So there is a term called surrounded, and it requires you to have 5 enemies near you. And by near, I mean 6 meters or something like that, right? And the helmet used to reduce the number of enemies required to be surrounded by 5, so you would be surrounded at all times, right? And I kind of knew that was getting axed, because thing is, it led to very powerful interactions like completely bypassing mana cost for everything, right? Because there is a skill, there is a support gem called Defy, and it says when you are surrounded, you can ignore the mana cost of skills, right? And put the helmet on, and all of your skills just ignore the mana cost, which is huge, right? Because mana is a huge problem, right? So, for example, with Deadeye that doesn't use that helmet, right? You needed to get a Keystone passive, and on top of that, you needed to get Mana Steal on your gloves or rings, right? Which is actually pretty annoying, right? I mean, you have 6 affixes, and you have to sacrifice 1, and you also have to get a Keystone passive. And that is one of the easiest handlings of mana, right? And you could just do this, so it's getting axed. So now you will have to have 1 enemy in range, right? Even with that helmet. Rage regeneration now pauses rage decay, similar to other means of gaining rage. This is mainly for the druid's bear form. If you have seen the video on the patch 04 overview, right? So the bear is going to regenerate rage, and rage fuels his abilities, and he kind of has, I think, permanent rage regeneration. So that means in the bear form, you will not be decaying your rage, something like that. All rage costs have been changed to 10 rage. So any ability that spans rage will cost 10 rage, and you will not have a visual on you unless you have 10. So, when you see the visual, you will know that you can use a rage field ability. Physical damage reduction from armor can no longer cause a hit to deal 0 damage. Yeah, there was something like this with the warrior, a lot of physical damage reduction percentage, and you could have this. Now they are going to deal 1 damage. So if you take a hit, you are going to receive damage. Igniting aura effects such as ignited ground no longer apply infinite ignites. That's nice, right? Because in ignited ground maps, you could get a little bit frustrated. Instead, they apply regular ignites with standard duration and will reapply them the next time flammability is applied. That's nice. That is a small nerf on the ignited ground map modifier. All skills granted by an ascendancy are now automatically activated when granted. Some previously required the player to manually activate them. Really? Okay. Anyway, so guys, Dead Ward's axing continues. Wind Ward has been removed. For those of you that don't know what this is, this used to be a very nice passive that used to give you 3% damage reduction per stack of Tailwind. Tailwind is the one here that previously got axed. So it's actually double axed. So when at full Tailwind stacks, you would have 30% damage reduction, which was, a very good method of not getting one-shotted. Yeah, now it's been removed altogether, not even nerfed, right? And I don't know what replaces it. We have a new skill, but it doesn't say that it's going to replace that, so we'll see, I guess. Bullseye requires cold shots. Bullseye now applies 10 critical weakness, previously 5. So, I have played Deadeye a lot, right? And when I saw that, is that really a Deadeye skill? Because, I have never seen it. Then it dawned on me, there is a rightmost tree that deals with frenzy charges, right? And there is the middle tree that's very good as well. And in between them, there is a small tree with 2 points, right? That's the one, actually. That's Bullseye, and you never take it. Now maybe it will, but we'll see. There is a skill that spawns a clone that uses ranged attacks. Yeah, okay. Mirage Deadeye. So on the rest, I won't be able to comment too much. Let's get to it. And there is a lot of patch notes coming. So one thing that's nice though is, guys, since the game came out, Pathfinder was never preferred over Deadeye, and I'm guessing they are trying to change that. So now there is something very nice. Running Assault now also grants cannot be heavy stunned while sprinting. And if you don't know what heavy stun is, guys, when you are sprinting, you fall to the ground and you get ganked by monsters and you cannot control your character for 3 seconds, right? That is a heavy stun. So that means, you can no longer fall down while sprinting. This is pretty nice. Elemental Surge worked. Okay. Generally, things have been getting buffed. Hold on. Okay. Surprising strength has been removed. Impacts, blah, blah. Smith of Kitawa, when it came out, it was decent, but in the last season, it was the weakest character, and where do I derive this data, right? Without having played it. So, guys, I'm checking stuff on PoE2.ninja, and Smith of Kitawa was the least played character there with a whopping 0.2 or 0.3%. Deadeye was on 30% for reference, right? So, yeah, it was very weak. And in season 2, when it first came out, it was okay, right? I did have one. So they are trying to bring it back, I think. Yeah. Infernalist, Blood Mage. Blood Mage was pretty popular. Interesting that they don't nerf it. Okay. Stormweaver, this was the king or the queen in season 1. Chromancer, always garbage. Gemling was the king in season 1 and has been nerfed to hell and has been rendered almost unplayable ever since. Witch Hunter, Invoker. Invoker has been always been okay, right? It's a monk essentially. Acolyte of Chayula, that was probably the worst character overall. In season 1, it was used for a little bit of cheating temporalis farms. Other than that, it had no use. I think they are trying to bring them back. Yeah. Yeah. So passive skill tree changes. Yeah. The values of flammability magnitude on the passive tree have been increased massively. That's nice because it was absolutely unplayable. Hollow palm technique, keystone. So that's a nerf. It used to give 1% attack speed per 75. It used to give 1% attack speed per 25 evasion. Now it requires 75, but base attack is a little bit faster. Of course, this is going to be a nerf overall because you would reach 10,000 attacks or something, so it would have been insane attack speed. Now, even with the buff here, it's not gonna be about the same level. Walker of the Wild Keystone has been removed, which is the thing that Deadeye was using to manage their mana. So you could go for the surrounded variant and you could ignore mana cost altogether, or you could get Walker of the Wild Keystone and some mana leech. Yeah, now it's going to get transferred to newly added lineage support. I don't know if that's going to be worth it. So, if it just allows you to leech mana using if it's going to allow you leech mana or life with elemental damage and it does nothing else, I don't think it's going to be worth it, right? Because supports add a lot of damage. 1 or 2 skill points versus losing a support is not the same thing. I'm hoping it will be adding some damage. Yeah. We'll see. That is going to be an expensive one for sure. Elemental Gilbert Kimstone now grants cold infusion. Yeah, I wouldn't understand what these mean. Now grants, I'm guessing the Crimson Assault Keystone. I don't know which one this is, but I'm going to do an educated guess and say that bleeding is always aggravated or something like that. Now also grants 50% more magnitude. Yeah, it could be something, I think. Yeah. Didn't play bleed too much, but when I was playing a Warrior Summit of Kitava, I think I was getting some bleed at times, with the Hammer of the Ancients or something like that. That was called. Passives that granted reduced movement speed penalty from using skills while moving on the passive tree have had their values lowered. More passives on the tree now grant the stat to make up for some of this. I mean, that's going to make me spend more skills to achieve the same thing. That's not the same. That's a huge nerf, actually. That's pretty annoying. Yeah. Themed, okay, 2 projectile speeds. New bow clusters, ranger. Granting surpassing chance to variation arrow. Yeah, by the way, there are still a lot of nerfs coming. Runes have been limited to 1. Most runes have been. Okay. Grant tribute. Small nose on the passive tree that grant remnant picker. What? The hell is this? Okay. Let's just change it. So a lot of green support gems were converted into blue support gems, making us spend more on intelligence, I think. Crescendo 1, 2, and 3, Perpetual Charge, Mark for Death, Gamble Shot, Bramble Slam. I don't recall any of these. But the thing is, as a Deadeye, you are generally going for Energy Shield Helmet, so you already have to spend more on intelligence that you normally use, so that wouldn't hurt us, even if we use this. Disable the Font of Rage support gem, interesting. Disable Ricochet 3 support gem, okay. World drop lineage supports are nowadays gonna thank you, because I was getting them, I didn't dare leave them on the ground, so I have so many Calm's Revenge, I think, Daireso, blah blah, right? I have so many garbage lineage support gems, and they were hardly worth one exalted. Yeah, that's nice. Ataru's bloodletting has been axed. 2% extra physical damage per 20 life, previously 10, so it's doubly nerfed, and it doesn't stop there. Up to 40%, and I don't know if it had a limit or not, right? And no longer has a cost multiplier, which means it has been rendered garbage, right? Because the life stacking builds were getting like 10,000 life, and they were getting insane damage multipliers out of this gem, which also granted additional life cost to skills. Now it's axed to the full, right? Zov Spire grants 40% of extra chaos damage, 40%. So these have been buffed up from 20%. I have never seen this, so I'm assuming they were not really very good. Maybe now they are. Okay, Zarok's Refrain, yeah, I did get this so many times. That's one of the garbage lineage gems. Maybe it will be a little bit better now. Uruk Smelting, I got this so many times as well. Anstedel, yeah. Rigvol's Ferocity is actually good, but it's not being used that way. You used to use it for Lightning Rod, and you used to use it in the second skill set, so you would deal more damage with Lightning Rod, so this doesn't help us, but it doesn't harm us either, right? So it gives a little more attack speed when used in the main weapon set. Kaom's Madness, yes, this garbage, yeah. Garugan's Resolve, Kurgaz Leash, Arakali's Lust, yeah. Takat Desire. I have so many of these. And they are just in my... Added Nova Projectiles 2, causing support to use 6 additional projectiles. It used to be 4, 50% less damage. Whoa, garbage. Maybe for some skills, but you can't really use it for Lightning Arrow. Yeah, this is a pretty weak skill, by the way, because the thing is, damage modifiers in Path of Exile do not really work like other ARPG games. In the other games, you would have all the bonuses added up, all the penalties removed from those. Then you would increase the damage of the skill by a certain percentage. Let me give you an example. I have 100% damage up, I have 50% damage up, and I have 40% damage penalty. Then I would deal 110% increased damage with the skill, right? 100 plus 50 minus 40. But in Path of Exile, the way that works is you have 100% damage up, 50% damage up, which means you have a total of 150% damage up, right? Dealing a total of 250%, and then you penalize that by 30%, right? Which is 100%. So then you would deal 150% damage, right? So, long story short, let me go over the example. You have 100% damage up, 50% damage up, and you have 40% damage down, and you are going to have a total of 40% damage, 50% damage up only, right? Because, the damage up and the damage down are their own thing. They do not get mixed together. Damage ups get added up, damage downs get added up, and the number is then multiplied by both modifiers, making the damage down an extremely powerful modifier to reduce your damage, right? So that's why I don't like Nova Projectiles. I never used it in the Dead Eye, right? I just had 5 arrows, and that would be it. Chain 1 support no longer grants support to chain 100% of time. Now grants support skills 30% damage less with hits. Okay. Chain 2 support. Chain plus 2. Chain 3. Interesting. Never tried these. So damage down is very bad in Path of Exile 2, right? I am not saying it's useless altogether, but you should take it with caution. I mean, I never used any of these supports. Okay, I'm just gonna skip the rest, right? I don't want the video to be too long, and it's already pretty long. Skill changes, Frozen Mandibles. Okay, I don't understand any of these. Wind type, blah, blah, Ancestral Warrior Totem. No longer has 20. This was used in Season 2, Ancestral Warrior Totem. It was pretty popular. Attrition Ball, Lightning, Comet. That was also used a little bit, I think. Electrocuting Arrow, Escape Shot, Explosive Spear. Yeah. And of course, Lightning Arrow and Lightning Rod have been nerfed, obviously, right? Incendiary shot, incinerate, killing palm, lightning arrow. No longer bypasses the charge up time on lightning rod's burst. The burst caused by lightning arrow can occur every 0.1 seconds, right? Normally you would combo and, you would do millions of damage. And I don't know how potent this nerf is, but it is a nerf, obviously. Projectile now converts 80% of physical damage to lightning damage, previously 40%. Beam now converts 100% of physical damage to lightning damage. So this is a buff, right? But I think it's to make up for this huge nerf. I don't know how huge this is, but it does sound pretty bad because, you would roll your lightning rods on the ground and then you would barrage lightning arrow on it and, it would deal millions of damage, killing most bosses instantly if you had proper gear. Yeah, now we'll see. Oh, yeah, huge nerf as well. The limit of active lightning rods is allowed now 10, down from 20, which means your damage has been halved, right? Because the way that you do this stuff is you put the lightning rods on the ground, all 20 of them, right? And then you would fire your lightning arrows at it, barraged, and they would trigger and you would deal millions of damage. This does sound that our right, I played it so much, Deadeye's boss damage has been, I would say, like reduced by like 70% or something. So this is a 50% nerf, right? Right off the bat. And this does sound nasty, so I'm going to say that's going to be a further 20-30% nerf at least, right? Yeah, so our boss damage is going to suffer a lot. We'll see how it goes. Okay, I wouldn't be able to comment on the other stuff. Perfect Strike, I remember this. Its damage has been buffed but by 10% only. Big deal. Barely 10%. Yeah. I suppose it's something. Raw amount has been nerfed as well. No longer increase your movement speed. I think that's the way it was in season 2. So I think it has been rolled back. Now has... So the thing is, guys, on raw amount, you would move at increased speeds. And when you were using skills, you were slowing down just very little, right? Normally, you surely have noticed this. When you are using skills, your character moves slower, right? There is a movement penalty for using skills, right? And some skills have a higher penalty than others. And raw mount eliminated like 80% of the penalty that was being applied, right? Now it just is eliminating all the penalty that's being applied, but it doesn't increase your movement speed anymore. If I'm correct, I think this was the way it was in season 2, right? But of course, it's still a little bit better because your heavy stun buildup is going to empty on its own. You do not need to dismount. But yeah, I mean, I think this is axing Deadeye pretty bad. We'll see how it goes. Skeletal Reaver. Oh, now gains 6% attack speed per 2 rage. Previously, this was described on the gem, but not functional. Way to go, GGG. So maybe some minion build could be good. We'll see. So Spark. Cold Infused Spark now deals 7 to 11. Damage nerf there? No, it's actually a damage buff. About 10%, okay? Cold Infused Spark. So about 10% damage up. Cold Infused Spark. Interesting. And Spark was pretty popular. I'm surprised that it was buffed. Stormcaller Arrow. Maybe we switch to this one. We'll see. Wind Dancer. Oh my god, Wind Dancer is nerfed as well. So Wind Dancer is the thing that gives you stacks, that gives you more evasion, and when you are hit, it triggers some damage. When there was just 1 or 2 monsters about, it could kill that, and even if you get knocked off your mount, you would not die. The damage has been nerfed as well. Oh god, that is the second time this skill has been getting nerfed, right? It used to have 4 stacks back then. Yeah, I wanna blow Raspberry at GGG here. Grand Spectrum, the blue version, has been buffed from 4% all elemental resistance per spectrum to 6. Okay. Hmm. Oh, I didn't know that this was nerfed. This one is the Trial of Chaos Shield. Used to have increased potency of socketed soul cores, and I think they changed it in season 3 down to 100% because it used to go very high. Now it can still go with up to 333%. Yeah, this could be playable now. This is pretty good. The Adorned has been buffed. Wow, that's an extremely rare item that drops from the Trial Master, right? And it used to give you 0 to 100% increased potency of corrupted magic jewels on your slots. Now it can go all the way up to 150%. And thing is, guys, in season 1, you know, ones that were near 100% were worth, like a mirror or something. They were extremely valuable. But thing is, it already drops corrupted, so you cannot divine it. That's why it's so rare, right? So because in order to get anything near 100%, you would have to get extremely lucky and get the adorned, and then it has to roll between 0 and, so it's a little bit merciless. You could get like 1%. Wow. So some garbage boss drops have been buffed a little, so they will be able to sell for a few exalted, I guess. Asylum, that's, I believe, the drop from the Simulacrum. 50 to 100% increase armor and evasion is buffed to 200 to 300%. Perfidy has been buffed as well. I think Perfidy is again the same. That's again from Simulacrum. Melting Maelstrom is from Simulacrum as well. Struggle Scream is from Simulacrum as well. These are from Breach, I think. These are all just garbage uniques that you would get from Pinnacle encounters, that would lead to disappointment and heartbreak. You go in, you kill the Pinnacle boss, bang, one exalted, right? Now it's going to be a little bit better, I think. Struggle Scream can have 3 additional instill modifiers. Maybe we'll create some value there. Control Metamorphosis. Oh, it doesn't have reduced chaos resistance anymore. Interesting. I mean, generally this was used by players with, chaos inoculation, so this wouldn't mean anything, but now I suppose it can be used by players that don't have this. Svalin, that's, I think, the expedition boss drop. Olroth's Resolve. Olroth's Resolve has been buffed. Olroth's Resolve has been one of the best items in the game, right? I love it. It's a life flask that heals instantly, and excess life recovery is added as guard. Now the duration has been buffed out to 20 seconds, right? This is what allowed me to get to level 100, by the way. If this item didn't exist, I definitely would have needed to switch to a Chaos Inoculation build. I didn't want to switch to a Chaos Inoculation build because I want to save the points and I didn't want my stun threshold to be 1. So yeah, I did go with life and Old Road's Resolve, and that did the trick. Yeah, I love this item, but it's a little bit expensive, of course. Warrior Invictus has been buffed. That's nice because they axed it pretty hard. This season, I don't think it was used at all. I think other stuff on Warrior Invictus has been buffed as well. Solus Ipse, these are, I believe, Arbiter drops. They were all garbage. Maybe they are going to be a little bit better now. Rat Pit Globe has been nerfed. This is the Life Stacker build's focus. It's been axed. Hammer of Fate has been buffed. Whispering Ice has been buffed. Okay, Covenant has been buffed. Your critical hit chance cannot be rerolled, whatever that means. Whoa, Coming Calamity has been buffed. That's the chest with 3 Herald skills. Yeah, Walls Protector. Okay, Warrior Invictus. See, the buffs here. 10 to 14 spirit up from 6 to 10 spirit. 8 to 10 resistances up from 5 to 7. 5, 7 attributes. 45 to 60 life. 50 to 60 mana. All buffed. Chaos resistance has been buffed. Increased global defenses. Wow. Life region. Everything has been buffed. Yeah. Stun threshold. Yeah, this is pretty nice, right? I mean, you do an end game, pinnacle content, and you get garbage. Yeah, that used to be a little bit heartbreaking. Yeah, now I think Warrior Invictus is going to get used a little bit more often now. Here Desire has been buffed. Yeah, I think this is altogether a buff. Perfidy. Really? Garbage item nerfed. Okay, thank you very much. This is the simulacrum helmet. Quarter of the storm's lightning bolt skill has a 5. Now has 5 cooldown uses. What? What does that mean? Does that mean a 5-second cooldown? Okay. Or it can be used 5 times before it goes into a cooldown. Yeah. Rune sockets have been renamed to augment sockets. Okay. 9 jewel items that go into augment sockets have been socketables to augments. Okay. So the stash tab is going to get renamed. Yeah. So guys, here comes another wave of nerfs. I have just cast my eye over these, but they are pretty. Existing items that have invalid augment sockets from the following limit changes will be unable to be used until sockets are against valid. This means, half of my gear, right? With my dead eye. So, the important ones. This one, I believe, is the 5% movement speed on boots. Now you can use only one. Goodbye, 60% movement speed boots, right? This one is the 2% XP one, which is how I did my level 100, but now you cannot use 3 of them in your helmet. This one is one additional arrow that will bring back the Gemini twin bows back a little bit because, for example, this season I just used a Warmonger bow with 3 additional arrows on it. Now I won't be able to use it. 1 additional arrow is going to be the max. Yeah. One of these is, I think, the 8% movement speed. Yeah, Idol of Sirius, I believe. It used to be Talisman. Now they have been renamed to Idols because, the Druid weapons are called Talismans. 8% attack speed on gloves is limited to 1. Yeah, this is going to be very limiting, by the way, because of the exceptional basis, guys. We could have 3 sockets boots, 3 socket gloves, 4 sockets weapons. Boom, right? I mean, we can still have them, but the best stuff that goes in there will be limited by 1. Yeah, a lot of soul cores have been limited. Surpassing chance, whatever that means. Oh, I see. So this was disabled. Instead of that, we get this one. So that means, if I have this FX, I will be firing 1 additional arrow all the time. And so whatever the roll is, let's say the roll is 37%, 37% of the time I will be firing 2 additional arrows. And 63% of the time I will be firing just 1 additional arrow. Okay, so the 2 additional arrows is all but impossible now. Because, you have to get this FX, which I'm going to assume, which will be very rare because this was extremely rare, right? And then you do have to get a perfect roll to be able to get an additional roll out of it. Yeah, I mean, nerfs. They love nerfs. Yeah, and I find that a little bit annoying. I know that Deadeye was the most powerful, and maybe it needed to be come down a little bit in power, but this is insane, right? Everything is getting nerfed. The ascendancy is getting nerfed. The itemization is getting nerfed. The skills are getting nerfed. Yeah, it's a bit much. Anyway, spell damage, specific damage types, damage as extra elemental damage modes on staves are 33% on average on staves. I mean, staves were garbage, so that's why. I don't think they can ever beat the wand plus focus combination. And Foci has had their energy shield amount increased, as you can see, by 25% approximately, right? 68 25% is 17. Add up that, yeah, that's 85, around that level. Totemic Great Club has been buffed in damage, okay, and they have an implicit now. Warcries Empower, interesting. Yeah, so they have been buffing maces because warrior was garbage. Yeah, interesting. So the damage has been buffed a little bit, a little above 10%, and the attack speed was nerfed a little bit, so overall damage has been buffed. And of course, when you are playing a warrior, you don't care about attack speed all that much. You care about the average damage, so you can hit harder, right? So this is of course a buff. Crumbling Wall has this 8% critical chance base. Hmm. Yeah, I mean, they have been buffing. They are also buffing spears. Okay. Hmm. Low level spell skills. I mean, nothing escapes them. They have increased the level requirement for +1 spell skill levels, amulets, and foci. So weird. Very interesting. I mean, and now you can't be able to use them on level 5, but level 10. Yeah. I mean, they do their best to bring our life quality down, really. Interesting. Okay. Okay. Another axing, guys. So you have seen all those +4 attack skills bows, right? Now they are nerfed. So because that was because uh, they were using a perfect essence of battle, which would give you +4 attack on bows, right? And also on melee, one-handed melee weapons. Now that's going to be +3, which means the crafting of weapons is going to be much harder because people will not accept +3. So, for example, guys, as a Deadeye, I was using a +4 bow myself instead of a +5 projectile because the +4 all attack means you get lightning rod, lightning arrow, and herald of thunder, right? So even though it's losing +1, it also helps you get +4 on the Herald of Thunder, so that was acceptable, right? But now it's going to be +3, and that's not going to be acceptable because we are going to lose 2 levels on Lightning Rod and Arrow and only gain 3 levels on Herald of Thunder. Yeah. So that is actually something pretty important, right? Because these essences were being used in this essence was being used in a lot of weapon crafts, and now I don't think it's gonna be on par. Yeah. Corsair code. Relic modifier light footed can no longer roll. Trap damage reduction trial Sekima's relic has been nerfed. The pettiness knows no bounds. I'm actually impressed by how petty they are. But of course, the king pettiness is the level 5 amulet. Yeah, that was very impressive. Low level amulets, +1 spells, thingy was nerfed. That was really, really very impressive. Yeah. Where was it? I missed it. Now you cannot equip low level amulets with +1 all spells on level 5, but level 10. Yeah, thank you, buddy. Okay, tablets will be changed quite a bit. So the quantity modifier on tablets were removed. Interesting. Arbiter of Ash no longer drops a rare crafted tablet. So, guys, one thing that's good is we are going to have we will be able to craft 4 modifier rare tablets from now on, right? Yeah, because back then it only used to be the arbiter would drop you a rare that was corrupted and you wouldn't be able to do anything with it, right? But now we can craft rares by ourselves. That's going to be actually pretty big. But a lot of stuff was nerfed, so we could get this. So I don't know if we are in the positive, and tablet prices will be just insane. So quantity has been removed from tablets, right? These are garbage, not really very important. Increase effectiveness of monsters. That means attack speed, movement speed, cast speed, and damage, or something like that. Effectiveness, I suppose. Unique monsters have 1 additional rare modifier. Okay. Map has 1 to 2 additional modifiers. Okay, interesting. Okay, that could be good because there are Atlas passives that give you 3% for every explicit. Oh, increased rarity has been buffed from 10 to 30%, from 18 to 30%. Pack size has been buffed to 6 to 10%. Magic monsters has been buffed. Rare monsters has been buffed. So the thing is, when I say buffed, the average level is going to increase, right? The upper limit will not change. It's still 40%, but it's 25 to 40% instead of 15 to 40%. Increase gold found has been buffed. XP gain has been buffed. That's nice. 5 to 10 to 20. Okay, that's good. Additional chest, garbage. Increased quantity has been buffed. So what will this will do for the end game player is, guys, this will actually reduce the prices of the beautiful tablets you have been buying. That's what it's gonna do, right? Because the potency was never increased, right? So the garbage drops have been removed. But as you can see, the cap is still the same, like 50%, 50%, 3, 3, 20, 20. There is no increase, right? But for example, XP rolling 10 to 20% means no one will have 5 to 9% ones, and a lot of more people will have higher XP ones, so the average prices will drop. That's about it. But yeah, 4 modifier rares will be pretty important, but quantity being removed was sad. So for quantity, you will now need to team up with other players. Yeah. Summoning circle, blah, blah. Expedition remnants, garbage, splinters of omens. Yeah. I mean, there are buffs there, but never to the maximum amount, right? The minimum. Okay, okay. Greed shrines no longer being available. Okay. Yeah, that's a 3.1 change. Remove Breach Delirium Ritual Expedition from the map legend as they no longer have icons shown on their atlas. So you will find them when you enter the map randomly instead of, already knowing that they are there. Monster changes. Improve the visibility of explosive fungus encountered in the Grim Tangle. Fungal, okay. Act 2 boss. Act 4 boss. Great White Bomb boss, okay. Okay. Causes lightning barrage skill should no longer hit with 9 projectiles at point blank range, which means we will no longer unfairly one shot you. Translate this. User interface options. Okay. Changes. And thing is, guys, I was going to make a video on this, and I was waiting for this, and they haven't said that they will be removing the hourglass room bug on floor 2 of Trial of Sikimas. If you ever do Trial of Sikimas, you will know what I'm talking about. In floor 2, the hourglass rooms are bugged. Sometimes it will just stop spawning rares, and instead of, spending like 15 to 20 seconds there, you will have to spend a whopping 1.5 minutes because, the rares will not spawn, and when you kill the rares, you would get 15 seconds of your timer, which you would do back to back, and get the room duration to 50, 20, 25 seconds maybe, and you will get stuck. And there is no mention of that being fixed here, sadly. Microtransaction changes, I don't think I could care less. Bug fixes, yeah, do I see it here? I don't think I see it here. Yeah. So we'll see. That's the speedrunner guy, right? Angormus. That's why I was taking a look there. Okay, so guys, that's the upcoming changes, and it's going to be released in about a week. And I will see you in the league. So let's see which characters will be powerful. I think so. I'm in between, of course, obviously a druid, right? A new character, and a Deadeye, which I know how to play. And I think that the first character in the season is pretty important, right? I mean, if you have a slow start, it's going to be a little bit more rocky, but I did start this season like 1.5 months late. I was still able to get on my feet. Yeah, we'll see. I think it will be a last moment decision, and I will see you in another video. Bye bye.